All right, Bath and Body Works facing a federal lawsuit. A store manager fired for refusing to refer to a new staff member's preferred pronouns. Oh, geez, Lou. All right, joining me now, Jessla Bowden, the fired store manager, and Stephanie Taub, senior counsel with First Liberty Institute. Ladies, welcome. Jocelyn, I am shocked when I read this story. So tell us what happened, because you were a longtime employee at Bath and Body Works.
Yeah, I worked at Bath and Body Works for about 3.5 years. In fact, about a month before I was terminated, I had my annual review, and the annual review was great. I got a raise with the annual review. It was really positive, like my previous ones had been. What happened is pretty simple. It's pretty, unfortunately, straightforward. I refused to lie based on my religious beliefs and my moral beliefs and character. I refused to degrade my moral character by lying and calling a biological girl, a new associate that I had hired, a he. It was that simple.
So, Stephanie, what does the law say about this? Does Jocelyn have a case here?
Well, absolutely. So at First Liberty Institute, we're honored to represent Jocelyn. We filed a charge of discrimination with the Equal Opportunity Employment Commission, and we firmly believe that this violates both state and federal civil rights law. Title VII of the Civil Rights Act protects employees against religious discrimination and provides that there is a general right to receive a religious accommodation in the workplace. The only exception to that is when granting that accommodation would cause substantial increased costs. And that is clearly not the case here. Bath and Body Works had easy options to accommodate Jocelyn, but they simply declined to engage in any sort of process to figure out if there was a way for everyone to work together.
So, Jocelyn, take me through what happened here, because this new employee, reported you, and what happened at that point when you had conversations with your district manager?
Well, keep in mind, of course, with businesses this large, all these are anonymous complaints. So I don't know if it was this new associate. I don't know if it was anyone else on the team. I can only make assumptions about that because the complaint that was made against me was anonymous. So I couldn't even face the person who made the complaint. So when I spoke with HR and then my district manager, the incident that created the complaint was on April 26th. I worked with this employee, this new associate, after hiring her one evening, where I called her a she. And when it was brought to my attention by some other associates and one of my other managers that I needed to call this associate a he because that is what this associate wished, and I explained to them that based on my moral and belief system, I was not going to degrade that by falsifying my speech and say that she was a he. That by that following Tuesday, within just a few days, so that was Saturday the 26th, that Tuesday afternoon, I got a voicemail from my HR department saying that I needed to call them back because of a complaint that was made against me. And so I called them that afternoon and we had a conversation about the complaint, along with other things that were clearly said in retaliation towards me, about some other things some other complaints that were made against me, and the big one being I would not use the pronoun of this associate.
Stephanie, it's mind-boggling, and I'm wondering if this is an isolated case, or are you guys seeing these kinds of issues happening in other workplaces?
Unfortunately, we've been seeing these sorts of complaints, and they seem to be increasing, or at least they've been a pretty steady portion over the past few years. And so this is an unfortunate trend that's happening in workplaces across the country. And we are hopeful that the EEOC and the federal courts will put a stop to this and provide the much needed clarity for these businesses, because this cannot go on. They absolutely need to respect the religious liberty rights of employees across the country, because too many people are being forced into the position that Jocelyn was in, forced to violate your faith or lose your job.
You know, Jocelyn, I got to tell you, I'm pretty impressed here because I have to imagine, you know, it would have been pretty easy to say, yeah, oh, all right, no problem, no problem. But you really did take a stand based on your religious beliefs. Was that a difficult decision for you to make?
No, no, it wasn't difficult. What's right is right. What's true is true. What's reality is reality. There's no meanness involved in that. There's no judgment and cruelty involved with that. That is just basic science. It's just basic reality. So it was not a hard decision to say what I said that night at work. In fact, it was very freeing, and to be that honest about what I believe in, what I know to be true, what I know to be real. And then I was very grateful to find First Liberty, who also saw that reality and truth and have agreed to be with me during this. I guess we'll call it a fight, but yeah. So no, it wasn't difficult.
All right. Ladies, we're going to have to leave it there. I wish you nothing but the very best. Thank you for coming on Newsmax this evening.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.